Catus, Maximus here, this time with a quick review of this Furman AC-215. The reason I'm even doing a video on this is I did pick this up at a junk store, works fine. These things are $120 on Amazon with an $80 discount, so I guess the retail is $200. It's really, it's an overblown power strip. Not entirely, it is pretty well made inside. Although I will give a little bit of frustration because Furman's an American company like Triplite and Oniac or 1AC. A lot of pretty good American-founded power conditioning equipment companies, but many have moved their production overseas. And Furman kind of does the same thing because they have this big sticker like they've had for decades, Furman, Petaluma, California, USA, and the little made in China. So they've been reduced to reselling Chinese stuff, which makes all of the more makes this $120 price tag a bit hard to swallow. This is a heavy-duty surge suppressor that actually has a relay in it, so if the voltage gets way too high or way too low, it will actually turn off the power until it reaches a normal voltage, and it'll turn the power back on. In addition to providing some surge protection and some good noise protection. This does not isolate, and so there's been several negative reviews, most of these around people buying these to try to deal with hums and noises and audio equipment, particularly musicians with their amps and that type of stuff. A lot of those amps can be very sensitive to line noise, and this type of thing isn't always going to resolve it, as many of the reviews have said. So a real quick thing, if you're a musician, what you really need is an isolation transformer. Now this is rated for 1800 watts, 15 amps. We can see its size and weight, and this is pretty heavy duty, pretty heavy for a line conditioner, but it's not really a power conditioner, a transformer-based isolation power conditioner like this Power VAR. You can see the size of this, the weight of this. I mean, it's a transformer, and it's only rated for 4 amps. So that gives you an idea if you're actually dealing with a real isolation transformer. So if you really need to get rid of all the noise, you need to get an isolation transformer, and you need to make sure that the neutral ground bond is broken so that the power outlets are truly isolated from the power that's coming in. And yeah, I do have hospital-grade outlets in this. And that's something I'll mention about the Furman, is if they're going to charge well over $100 for a 2-outlet power conditioner, even though it does have a relay cutoff, is made pretty nice. Really disappointed that it just uses, cheesy outlet, power strip receptacles, when they did have the space where they should have done something where they integrated a standard commercial receptacle so that you could put in heavy duty or even a hospital grade receptacles instead of being stuck with these weird proprietary things. The reason this one looks so odd and is also oddly high power for 15 amps is this really has a couple holes here, holes there. There are some others on it. This is designed to be mounted. This is a heavy-duty vending machine power strip. ATM machines may use something like this, where you have a standalone, a Netflix or Redbox, or excuse me, not Netflix, but a Redbox, DVD dispensing machine, which are very expensive machines. They would be plugged into one of these to help ensure their overall long-term reliability wherever they're connected. And this thing is just super simple. It just lets you know that the protection is on. And then if you have a voltage range that is too far outside, like say maybe 90 volts, it will turn off, or it gets to 130 volts, it will turn off, and then it'll turn back on. And you can hear that relay. And that's really all it is. And so that's why it has a IEC plug plugging in instead of just a power cord coming out. And also why it only has 2 outlets and everything's done on the front, because it's just designed to be mounted on a wall. Power comes in, and then, your appliances or whatever plug into that. This would be good industrial environments for computers. You could put this in, and there's lots of computers that are used to drive all sorts of things, such as water jet cutting machines, CNC machine, all that kind of stuff. Not really CNC machines, but like water jet cutting machines. A lot of them have integrated personal computers, so this would be great for that type of situation as well. So just wanted to put that information out there. If you do, don't get totally caught up in the Furman thing, because it doesn't matter who makes it or how expensive a line filter is. That's all these are, is a line filter. This one has an extra feature of cutting off under extreme voltages. but it's not going to reduce noise like a isolation transformer. And I figure, let's pull up these screws and take a look inside. Got those screws out. The cover just pops right off. It is pretty heavy gauge steel. They even do have a plastic layer up here, which is a little bit puzzling. It's just another piece of the same insulation that they put under the circuit board. They just put it on top. I guess if it gets really beat up or crushed, the top of the case says that it won't cause a short inside the unit. So I guess that would be part of the expense, is a little bit more industrialization. As you can see inside this box, at least they are not being, even if it is Chinese, they're not being super chintzy, although I do not like the fact that they use glue to hold in the LEDs. That's a little bit cheesy. Surge suppression is there, but not great. We have a metal oxide varistor there, an input, power fuse thing next to another MOV. These blue discs are the surge protection. They're a special type of resistor. They're made out of a very special kind of powder, so when you get a big voltage spike, the causes essentially these circuits to short out. So when you have a voltage spike, these circuits short out, and many times they will explode. That's why they put this shrink tubing over them. And as they short out, they're becoming conductive and will shunt or drive that pulse back out through the ground wire. So these are connected in from the hot and neutral, and then the other end is connected to the ground. The problem is of course, the electronics are ruined. They have to have a pretty high voltage in order to really clamp. So this would clamp at 330 volts. Or there are other systems known as avalanche diodes, which will clamp at 200 volts, which are super tight. So, it's a little bit disappointing. Otherwise, we have a potentiometer to, I assume, adjust the cutoff voltages when the relay turns on and off, and we have some electronics to go along with that. And it's not even digital. It doesn't even have a chip. It's just doing it through analog components there. And then the filtering stage would be this, which is kind of interesting. We do have some pretty big, 3 big AC capacitors, a huge choke. This is going to help reduce high frequency noise to the hot line, the black wire, but not the neutral. And this is usually where the noise comes in for audio equipment. But that is a pretty big choke, but it is rated for 15 amps. And then we have something interesting over here, which is some big diodes. I do like the big power resistors that they have. I do also like that they put little ceramic insulators around the legs, so if the legs get real hot, at least they're not going to be, overheating components that are close to them. But I'm not sure what this diode setup is. I don't know if that's to help provide DC power to this relay, because these little diodes here could easily do the same thing, provide more than enough power to actually turn this on and off. So this is kind of interesting. This is some portion of their filtering, but those are certainly some pretty heavy-duty diodes right there. And then we just have the tabs that go to these outlets. At least they are professionally done. Nice insulated cap terminals on those. We can see that the main power switch here I do like. It's a double pole switch, so it's switching both the hot and the neutral lines. So this makes it a little bit safer, a little bit more robust. And besides that, if we look at the wire here, we can see that's 105 degrees Celsius wire. So that is definitely high temperature wire. I guess the only other thing that puzzles me is if we look here and we look here, there's like spatter or something on the PCB, which doesn't bode well. Who knows? Maybe that's why this has to have 4 levels of inspection. Maybe if they still made it in the US, they wouldn't have to spend so much time re-inspecting it 4 times. Anyway, just wanted to do a little video. I wasn't initially going to do it, but I kind of like talking about these power conditioning units. And then when I saw that this thing was $60 to $100 per receptacle, figured I had to make a video about it. Just for the people who may, because, there were quite a few, at least on Amazon, there were like 100 reviews or something, or 50 reviews. So enough people are buying these, and now I have an opportunity to provide a lot more detail about one of these things and how they may not be appropriate for musicians and audio equipment, but they are appropriate for vending machines, like I said, red box DVD machines, that type of stuff. Where you want to have good power filtering, but you don't need a power strip. You just need something that you can mount to a wall and basically, forget about it until you have a lightning strike. Anyway, really appreciate everybody who's been watching and subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. Till next time, Catus Maximus out.